Creative Studio instructor for Gamble Quilting Systems. Join me as we explore a terrific new feature in Creative Studio version 6. This presentation will introduce you to the Nodes mode. The Nodes mode has 5 distinct functions: to divide patterns, to alter and manipulate patterns by moving the nodes, to add a pause in order to change thread colors, to add instructions for stitch length to a pattern, to add instructions for speed to a pattern. 3, 4, and 5 are placeholders for special notes or designer instructions specific to a pattern. We will be using the first 2 functions in this project. The goal of this video is to help you understand the process used to manipulate a pattern to create a new pattern. We will then use the new pattern to compose a home deck project on our Statler. The following patterns will be used in this project: AM Teardrop Border, AM Teardrop Corner 1. These patterns have been provided to Gamble for use on our Statler stitchers by designer Apricot Moon. Geometric Square, Square Spiral 2, these 2 patterns come loaded on your Statler stitcher. All 4 patterns have been preloaded and can be seen on the left of the work area. Now it's time to activate the Nodes mode function. In order to activate the Nodes mode, only one pattern can be selected and the right toolbar must be active. Select a pattern on the design board and then use one of these 4 options. Click the Nodes icon from the right toolbar. Choose Nodes from the right-click menu. Use the F7 function key for keyboard shortcut, or cycle the pattern anchor types until the Nodes mode appears. The nodes will appear and cycle after the stretch anchors. A word of explanation about nodes. Nodes are an integral part of every pattern and can be displayed when needed. Every pattern is made up of segments, lines or arcs, and nodes. The beginning and ending of each segment is a node. 2 contiguous segments share a node. The ending node of the first segment is the beginning node of the next segment. When a pattern is divided, it is at a node. When a pattern changes shape, it is done using nodes. Stitch settings can be altered using designer nodes. The Nodes mode displays the pieces of each pattern, showing all nodes. One pattern must be selected before starting the Nodes mode. Endpoint nodes are pink squares, and they are used when moving, dividing, or combining pattern segments. Arc nodes are blue squares, and they are used to reshape the pattern segments, but not for dividing or combining segments. Designer nodes are red dots and can be used to change some of the pattern attributes. Now to alter the original teardrop border pattern to an interlocking heart border. Using repeat patterns, place the pattern AM Teardrop Border on the CAD screen. Now that the pattern is on the CAD screen, it can be edited. To aid the editing process, the grid will be used. This is located on the top command bar under the tab labeled View. Clicking on View reveals a drop-down menu. When View Grid is toggled, a grid will display. Grid size is located directly below View Grid. Change the grid to 2. The pattern is on the CAD screen and the Repeat Pattern Setup box is open. The current width is 1.72. Let's change this. Click on the G located on the status bar to activate the grid snap. When the tab is active, the background is gray. Under Repeat Settings, locate Total Width and use the mouse to highlight the pattern width and change the number to 2. As the mouse rolls back over the CAD screen, watch as the start and end points of the pattern snap to the 2-inch grid. This ensures that the pattern start and end points are on the same plane, which will aid in the design process. With the pattern selected and the nodes activated, if the right toolbar is gray, right-click on your CAD screen to activate it. With the pattern selected and the nodes activated, move the mouse to the desired divide point. Notice the cursor changes from an arrow to a crosshair when placed on a node. Right-click on the pink endpoint node. Highlight the word Divide and click. You can also select D from your keyboard. The original pattern is now 2 individual patterns. Select the pattern on the right side of the CAD screen. Right-click and select Delete from the drop-down menu. The final pattern will be symmetrical, and using just half of the pattern shape will be easier for us to work with. Select the pattern remaining on the CAD screen. Change the grid size to 0.25. Click OK. Activate the node mode by clicking the node mode icon on the right toolbar. Activate the grid snap. To use the nodes, hold the cursor over a node. Notice the cursor becomes a small crosshair. Left-click and hold down as you move the mouse to drag a node. For touchscreen devices, simply touch and drag the desired node with your finger. Pull the endpoint node down vertically 3/4 of an inch. The endpoint node will snap to the grid. We are creating the center dip of the heart. Disengage the grid snap. Visualize a heart. Using the pink endpoint nodes, shape the pattern lines. With the blue arc nodes, go back and smooth the arcs. Moving blue nodes will change the tension or shape of the arcs or segments they are connected to. When you are satisfied with your shape, we will complete the pattern using another new feature of version 6, Mirror Pattern. Creative Studio places a mirror image on the screen using the rotation axes defined by the prompts. Notice the image on the right side of the CAD screen. The heart is divided by a red line. This represents the vertical axes. Right-click and select Mirror. A prompt appears. Place first point on CAD. With your grid snap activated, click on a grid point inline vertically with the pattern. Another prompt appears. Click second point on CAD, drop down and click on another grid inline vertically with the first. Creative Studio made a mirror image of our pattern. Because this is a mirror image, the stitching order must be revised. Click on the Set Sew Order icon located on the top toolbar. Renumber. Then click on the Set Sew Order icon again to commit these changes. Time to save our new pattern to a file for future use. Select both pieces of the heart to create our new pattern file. Click on the Export to CSQ icon located above the Pattern Preview pane. A Save As window appears. Type a descriptive name for the new pattern in the File name box. Choose a place to save the pattern. Derivative patterns can be named and saved in the same folder as the original design, so they are easy to find. Or you could create a folder for all of your CSQ files to be saved together. I will be saving this pattern file in my video folder. Click Save. When a pattern is exported, two things occur. The pattern is saved to the folder of your choice for future use, and a copy of the exported pattern is added to the top of your pattern list for your immediate use. With Creative Studio version 6, your design options are endless. You control the vertical, you control the horizontal. Shown are 4 different options for the heart border. Option 1, the outside of the heart was placed on the same vertical plane as the start point. Option 2, the outside of the heart was placed 1/4 inch vertically over the start point, and the top was adjusted horizontally to the same height as the corner piece. Option 3, the outside of the heart was placed 1/4 inch vertically over the start point, with no change to the height as it was created. Option 4, the outside of the heart was placed a half an inch vertically over the start point with no change to the height as it was created. I chose the third option to create our placemat project, but I'm including all 4 interlocking hearts with the project file. You choose your favorite. Valentine placemats. This project will be created using a laptop working in SAM, standalone mode. Open a new group and title it Valentine Placemats. Locate and highlight the geometric square from your pattern list. Click on the Repeat Pattern icon to activate the setup box. Under Individual Pattern Details, turn Freeze Aspect off. Change your pattern width to 20 and your pattern height to 16. Change your pattern location to center. Click OK to place the pattern. The geo square has been changed to a rectangle and will be repeated twice, reducing the size in half-inch increments. Using the center point as our pattern location, we'll nest the patterns. With geometric square highlighted, click Repeat Patterns a second time. Turn Freeze Aspect off. Change the pattern width to 19.5 and the pattern height to 15.5. Change the pattern location to center. Click OK to place a pattern at your chosen pattern location. And finally, one more time with geometric square highlighted, click on Repeat Patterns. Change your freeze aspect to off. Change your pattern width to 19 and your pattern height to 15. Finally, change your pattern location to center. Click OK to place. The geo square was chosen for the placemats so that a straight of grain binding could be applied. Echo would have rounded the corners. Placing the patterns one at a time using Repeat Pattern allowed me to maintain the aspect of the corners. Select all 3 rectangles, right-click, and choose Combine Pattern. Now the frame will respond as one pattern while we work with it. Move the frame away from the point of origin, the purple line. Use the grid to line up the pattern. I have a 1/4 inch grid selected, and I'm going to use my nudge feature to center the frame. Convert the frame pattern to a boundary. With the pattern selected, click on the Convert icon. Select Pattern to Boundary. This allows the frame to be used as a reference point, but does not allow the frame itself to interfere as we're building our design. Remember, we are using SAM, standalone mode, to set up our project. Patterns placed on the CAD screen using Repeat Patterns all use point of origin as their reference and will stack on top of one another if we don't move them. Let's place our border corner pieces. Highlight the teardrop corner 1. Click on Repeat Pattern icon to place it on the CAD screen. Click OK. Notice the orientation of the pattern. It is the upper right corner. Select and move it a 1/4 inch from the upper right inner boundary. I have my 1/4 inch grid selected and that will aid in my placement. With the corner pattern selected, right-click to show the drop-down menu. Select Circular Array. Type 4 in the number of copies. We want 4 total corner pieces in our project. Click on the word Copies. Creative Studio does the math for us. Notice the 4 has changed to a 3. This is because we have already placed 1 copy on our CAD screen. Creative Studio also figures the angle of rotation necessary for our patterns to be placed according to our number of copies. This is referenced as the degree of pattern. Click Place Erase Center Point and move the crosshairs to the center of your frame. Click and the 3 border corner pieces are placed. We are placing these into a rectangular shape, so our results will be skewed. Not a problem. They're at the correct angle, just not in the correct location. Select each corner piece and place it in the appropriate position, a 1/4 inch away from the inner boundary line. Now that the border corners are properly positioned, let's tackle the border pieces. Click on the Measuring on CAD icon located on the top tool strip. A dialog box appears in the lower right corner of your CAD screen. Activate the Endpoint Snap feature located on your status bar. Click on the left border corner endpoint and again on the right border corner start point to measure. This will determine the width of the border pieces needed. Right-click your mouse to save the measurements and exit the dialog box. Highlight the created pattern, interlocking heart border. Click on the Repeat Pattern icon. Using the Repeat Pattern Setup box, scroll down to the Repeat Settings. Right-click on your mouse while hovering over Total Width. the transfer box will appear. Highlight and click on Total Width to transfer to the setup box. Repeat with Quilt Angle. Hover and right-click to transfer. Click OK to place patterns on your CAD screen. Select and move the border pieces over to your project and center them between the top two borders. This can best be done using the edge anchors. Select the Cycle Pattern Anchor type on your toolbar and click it. You will come to the purple edge anchors. Put your border in between the two corner pieces. Change to your blue endpoint anchors. Activate the end snap on the status bar and snap the border to the corner pieces. We could repeat this process for the bottom border. Instead, we will rubber stamp the border pieces and then use the endpoint anchors to place our border. Select your border, rubber stamp, press the Escape key on your keyboard. This activates the last placed pattern as your active selection. Now using the endpoint anchors, snap the rubber stamped border in place between the two bottom corner pieces. Side borders are set up the same as the top border. We will use the height measurement and place it in our total width. Again, we will transfer the quilt angle measurement. Click on the measuring icon. The measurement box appears. Activate your end snap and measure from the top right border corner endpoint down to the lower right border corner start point. Right-click on your mouse, select your interlocking heart border, and repeat patterns. Scroll down to repeat settings, hover over total width, right-click, this time transfer the height measurement into total width. Hover over quilt angle, right-click, and transfer the angle measurement. Click OK. Our border appears on the left side of our CAD screen at our point of origin. The blue anchors were the last that we used, and so they have remained. We're going to cycle those to the purple anchors, bring our pieces down, cycle to the blue anchors again, and snap the pieces into position between the corners. Again, we will use rubber stamp, then use the copy for our left border, placing using the blue endpoint anchors. Select your border, right-click, rubber stamp, press Escape, select your endpoints, and snap into position. When all four borders have been placed and endpoint snapped, it's time to set the stitching order. This time we are going to use another new feature, Order Join. Creative Studio will reconnect and reorder the pattern segments continuously. You can verify this using the Set Sew Order icon. First, let's see how Creative Studio would stitch what is currently on the CAD screen. Click on the Set Sew Order icon to see the current stitching path. The upper right border corner would stitch first. Then CS would stitch the lower right border corner. Then the lower left border corner. The upper left border corner. The upper border would be next. Then the lower border that we rubber stamped, followed by the right side border, and finally the left side border. Wow. We could renumber each pattern, clicking and reordering using the Set Sew Order icon. Or we can use Order Join. The patterns that are currently on our CAD screen are all connected and would be a great use of this new feature. Select the pattern or segment that you wish to be first. Then click on Order Join. That's it. That's simple. Let's verify using the Set Sew Order icon. Cool, right? There are a few guidelines to follow when using Order Join. You can find more information on pages 120 and 121 of our new Creative Studio 6 manual. This is available for download on the Gamma website. The final pattern to be added to the project is the Spiral Square 2. Highlight and click Repeat Patterns. Click OK to place on the CAD screen. We will size this pattern using our edge anchors when positioning, using our grid as a guideline. I'm going to change to my edge anchors and move it over. I'm going to activate my grid and I'm going to zoom in. I'm setting the outside edges just a little over a 1/4 inch away from my heart border. When it is in position, it needs just a tweak. Right-click and select Nodes. With the mouse on the last pink endpoint node, I will shorten the end of the stitching line. This way it lines up with the vertical line of stitching on the right.
The final step before stitching will be to convert the boundary of the project back to a pattern so that it will stitch out. When a boundary is selected, it is red. With the boundary selected, click Convert Pattern. Choose Boundary to Pattern. This would be a good time to use Virtual Stitch Out to confirm the stitching order. Notice the Virtual Stitch Out icon has moved. It is now located above the Preview Pattern pane. The order of sewing as I designed the project, the heart border sews first, then the spiral square, and finally the 3 lines of stitching to frame the placemat. I had no problem at all stitching the placemat in this order. The heart border stabilized the fabric nicely with no distortion. Included in the project file are 4 placemats using the 4 different heart border options. Minor changes in the manipulation of the nodes can yield very different results. Part of your job as a long-arm quilter is to develop an eye for what is pleasing, in most cases to better serve your clients. Look at the options in the placemats. Which one is most attractive to you? Why? I hope that you'll work through the steps outlined in this video to create your own interlocking heart placemats. When you do, remember to save your project. Transfer the project to a USB drive and move it to your Statler stitcher. I made a mock-up on my screen so you can see how I laid these out on my Statler. I made a boundary of my sewable area using my stitcher head. I placed my crosshairs in the upper left corner of my boundary. Then I set the placemats using repeat patterns. Under repeat settings, I set the horizontal and vertical at 0.5. I changed my repeats to 2 and my rows to 4. I changed my quilt angle to 90. I changed the start point to the upper right corner. With the altered settings I chose in repeat patterns, my placemats are now laid out vertically. I will toggle the second row sewn since it doesn't fit within my sewable area. When I do, the start point moves to the top row. After the first row has sewn, I will roll the fabric, toggle the second row unsewn, and use Relocate to reposition, and then sew the lower row. With the Nodes mode, we have more control and freedom to create than ever before. I've placed a few patterns on my CAD screen and changed them just a little using the Nodes mode function. Unique shaped piecing patterns can also be filled, making a few changes to patterns you already own. I hope that your creative juices are flowing with ideas to use this wonderful new function. Thanks for joining me for the Nodes mode. If you have questions about Creative Studio, feel free to call me or email me